We're now joined by UC Irvine professor Alon Burstein to talk about the ongoing war. Thank you so much for being with us. We want to dive right in here. It's now been 7 months since the war began, and we just saw Israeli tanks taking control of Gaza's Rafah border crossing. Can you give us your reaction to Israel apparently brushing off allies' warnings to not do this?
First of all, thank you for having me and good morning. I think that Israel is trying to, first of all, send a message to Hamas, possibly also to other allies, saying that the quote-unquote stalling tactics, as Israel has seen them, are not going to work. Israel has said it gave Hamas an ultimatum that it will invade Rafah within a week if a deal is not reached. Then Hamas rejected the deal. Then Hamas quickly accepted the deal when Israel started the invasion. I think Israel's trying to make a point saying, no, you can't just delay us and delay us. We're at least going to take over the southeastern part of Rafah, the Rafah crossing, which is a very strategic location for Israel. And I also think that tactically, Israel wanted to control the crossing, even if it cannot invade Rafah. So right now, Israel is in a position that, as far as it's concerned, possibly can negotiate from stronger because they now control a crossing that they have said is vital for the continued security, however they see it.
So let's talk a little bit about the proposal that Hamas actually agreed to. That involved hostage returns, IDF withdrawal, and reconstruction. Tell us why you think Israel rejected this deal, and also, is there a red line now that 35,000 civilians have been killed and there's full-blown famine in the north?
So a couple of things. The deal that has been negotiated initially was negotiated between Israel and Egypt, then given to Hamas. Hamas then rejected it, then agreed to negotiate it. This is all in the last week. What Hamas has said it has agreed to is the basic framework of the same deal, but there are a couple of crucial elements that violate Israel's red lines. Prior to this, Israel said that they're not willing to give what Hamas said were their red lines. One of the important differences is that in the first stage of the deal, initially it was supposed to be the release of 33 Israeli hostages. Hamas changed that and said that they will release 33 live or dead hostages. So that is one of the things that Israel said it's not willing to accept dead hostages in exchange for the truce. In addition to that, Hamas added clauses such as removing the siege on Gaza within 5 years and the reconstruction. These are things that Israel did not agree to initially. What the United States would like to see is Israel saying, okay, but we can negotiate this. This is now a framework that we can negotiate, instead of Israel saying, no, this does not meet our basic demands, so the operation goes on. So that's in terms of why Israel's rejected this and where that collides with the United States. In terms of, is there a red line? It's important to note that, first of all, the 35,000 Palestinians that have been killed in the Gaza Strip also includes armed militants. The IDF says that it has been 12,000 or 13,000. The red lines are going to be whenever the United States says to Israel, you cannot do this right now. As far as Israel is concerned, the war is going on and it is actually being run, according to Israel, targeting Hamas and not targeting Palestinian civilians. So Israel, as far as it's concerned, is going to continue pursuing what it sees as a legitimate goal, which is the destruction of Hamas. In the United States, the pressure is going to mount, and the United States is really going to be the one that can end up telling Israel, okay, no, you cannot invade Rafah now, even though you think your goals are legitimate, and even though the United States shares your goals of destroying Hamas, this is something you cannot do right now. So that's where the red line is going to be drawn. It's not going to be because a specific number of Palestinians have been killed or not. That's not going to change Israel's war goals. However, the international community, possibly the International Court of Justice or the United States, are the ones that may end up mounting pressure on Israel to change its tactics at this time.
Well, you know, a couple of things based on what you just said. There's reports this morning that there is major rift now within the Democratic Party now that this is transpiring and happening because of the concern over these million Palestinians who fled, you know, for safety. I also want to ask you, you know, with these 33 hostages, do we have to be concerned that maybe Hamas does not have any hostages still alive when they're reporting that they return them alive or dead?
So that is a basic concern. Right now, there are 132 hostages that are still within the Gaza Strip. The IDF, Israel, has stated that it has confirmed that 35 of them are already dead. Different reports over the last couple of months have suggested that both Israeli intelligence and U.S. intelligence believe that another 20 to 30 are dead, and Hamas has said that roughly 20 of them are dead. At this point, we really don't know. Hamas had a vested interest in keeping the hostages alive. Live hostages are, you know, for being blunt, worth a lot more than dead hostages. That is why I was often asked, is Hamas going to execute hostages? And I said, in my opinion, absolutely not. Hamas wants the hostages alive. That said, within the framework of the war, within the framework of keeping people alive under these conditions, it is possible that there are not that many hostages that are alive. what I think is important to note is the first phase of the deal relates to a specific category of hostages. It is women, children, people who are sick, and people who are injured. It is, even if Hamas would not have 33 who are alive that meet that category, that does not mean that there are no more hostages that are alive. There are, most of the hostages that remain in captivity right now are men, either IDF soldiers or civilians that have been captured, but that Hamas has not released them because they are in what Hamas considers a different category. Male hostages are simply viewed differently. So it is possible that there aren't 33 alive, but that would be just of that category, not of all the hostages.
All right, well, we'll have to see how things play out today here, even in the United States, once the president speaks as well. This is a turning point in this. Thank you so much, UC Irvine professor Alon Burstein, for being with us this morning.
Thank you. Have a good day.